He was the kind of man who bought islands, but one wrong turn at a five-star resort led him to a secret that would unravel everything he thought he knew about wealth, love, and what truly mattered. You see, Leo Maxwell wasn't just rich. He was the kind of rich you read about in magazines, the kind that came with private jets, personal chefs, and a life perfectly tailored to his every whim. He owned a tech empire, a sprawling collection of companies that practically ran themselves, leaving him with an abundance of time and an even greater abundance of money. He was staying at the Azure Palms, a resort so exclusive its entry requirements probably included a net worth statement and a blood sample from a minor celebrity. This wasn't just any trip for Leo. It was supposed to be a reprieve. A few days of quiet solitude after closing a monumental deal that added another digit to his already astronomical fortune. He sought peace, an escape from the relentless demands of his world, a world where every conversation was a negotiation and every smile had an agenda. He craved simplicity, even if he found it in the most extravagant of places. He'd booked the resort's most secluded penthouse, a sprawling suite with panoramic ocean views, a private infinity pool, and a dedicated staff ready to anticipate his every unspoken desire. This was his sanctuary, his golden cage, where he expected nothing but pristine luxury and undisturbed calm. But sanctuaries, even golden ones, can sometimes hide unexpected doors, leading to places you never intended to find. And that's exactly what happened when Leo, after a particularly draining day of forced relaxation and an evening that consisted of a gourmet meal he barely tasted, decided to take a late-night walk. He was restless, a common side effect of his perpetually overactive mind, even when his body was trying to unwind. He thought a stroll through the resort's quiet corridors, perhaps a peek at the moonlit beach, would lull him into a much-needed sleep. He wasn't paying close attention, his mind still replaying market trends and acquisition strategies, when he approached his room. Or what he thought was his room. He'd had a few glasses of a rare vintage Cabernet earlier, just enough to blur the edges of his usual laser focus. He swiped his keycard, heard the soft click, and pushed open the heavy oak door. The room number wasn't right, not quite. It was 302, not 307. A minor detail, a simple mistake of an identical corridor, but the sight that greeted him wasn't minor at all. The room wasn't dark and empty like his own would have been. Instead, it was dimly lit, casting long, wavering shadows across a scene that stopped Leo cold. It was a standard room, much smaller than his penthouse, with furniture that looked surprisingly worn for such a high-end resort. But it wasn't the room itself that shocked him. It was the woman. She was sitting on the floor, her back against the bed, her knees drawn up to her chest. Her face was buried in her hands, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. A small crumpled tissue lay discarded beside her. A half-eaten sandwich sat on a paper plate on the bedside table, untouched. On the floor beside her was an open suitcase, its contents spilling out. Not designer clothes, but practical, almost worn items, mixed with a stack of medical-looking papers. And then he saw it. A small, almost childlike drawing, crudely colored with crayons, taped to the wall just above her head. It was a picture of a smiling sun and two stick figures holding hands. Leo froze. He was an intruder, a witness to a raw, private moment of despair. Every instinct screamed at him to back away, to pretend he hadn't seen anything, to retreat to his own gilded cage. But something held him there. It wasn't curiosity in a cruel sense, but a profound, almost uncomfortable sense of disbelief. This kind of pain, this visible, crushing vulnerability, simply didn't exist in his world. Not like this. Not naked and exposed in a hotel room. He'd seen people cry, of course. Business partners after a failed deal, family members at a funeral. But this was different. This wasn't a controlled, contained emotion. This was a broken dam. He cleared his throat, a small involuntary sound. The woman flinched, her head snapping up. Her eyes, red and swollen, met his. They were a startling shade of green even through the tears, and filled with a mixture of fear and mortification. She scrambled to her feet, trying to pull herself together, wiping frantically at her face. "Oh my God," she whispered, her voice hoarse. "I'm so sorry. I thought you were someone else. I mean, this is my room. What are you—" Leo felt a flush creep up his neck. He was rarely caught off guard, never flustered. "My apologies, Mon," he said, his voice clipped, betraying his discomfort. "I seem to have made a mistake." I'm in 307. The numbers, they're quite similar in the dark. He gestured vaguely down the hall. I'm truly sorry to have disturbed you. He started to back out, ready to make a quick escape, but something in her eyes, a flicker of something beyond just embarrassment, made him pause. There was a deep, bone-weary exhaustion there, a kind of sadness that went far beyond a momentary upset. It's fine, she said, though her voice still trembled. She hugged herself, as if suddenly aware of her disheveled appearance in front of this impeccably dressed stranger. He noticed then that her clothes, though clean, were simple, a plain t-shirt and sweatpants. No jewelry, no makeup, just her, raw and unguarded. "Are you all right?" The question was out of his mouth before he could stop it. It sounded trite, almost idiotic, given the scene he'd just witnessed. She gave a humorless laugh. "As all right as I can be," she murmured, turning away to pick up some of the papers that had fallen from her suitcase. He saw a name, Eliza Reed, and a date, for October 27th. "Oh, is there anything I can do?" he asked, surprising himself again. He didn't offer help. He offered solutions. This felt different. She turned back, a ghost of a smile touching her lips. "Said I appreciate the offer, but I don't think you can fix this." Her gaze swept over his expensive suit, his perfectly styled hair, his confident posture. "Unless you're a miracle worker, I've been told I can work miracles in some fields," he said, a faint, almost imperceptible smirk playing on his lips. "But I suspect yours isn't one of them." He knew it sounded arrogant, but it was also true. His miracles involved algorithms and market cap, not personal despair. "No," she agreed. "I don't think so either." She picked up the crayon drawing. "This is a miracle, though," she said, holding it up. "My daughter drew this for me this morning." Her voice softened, a warmth entering it that hadn't been there before. She's 5, and suddenly, the crumpled tissues, the sadness, the whole desperate scene made a terrible kind of sense. A child. A sick child, perhaps, given the medical papers. He felt a pang, something sharp and unfamiliar in his chest. He had no children, no immediate family he was close to. His world was numbers and steel and glass. This was flesh and blood and very real pain. I truly am sorry," he repeated, this time with genuine sincerity, "for barging in, for everything." He hesitated, then reached into his pocket. His hand closed around his wallet, thick with credit cards and crisp $100 bills. He pulled out a few hundreds. It felt clumsy, insulting, but it was the only immediate solution he knew. "Please, for whatever you need. A taxi, a hot meal." She looked at the money, then back at him, her green eyes narrowing slightly. "I'm not begging, sir," she said, a flicker of pride igniting in their depths. "And I don't take charity." He felt a flush of shame this time. He'd been crass. "Of course not. My apologies. That was uncalled for." He put the money back, feeling like a fool. "I suppose I should leave you to your privacy." He gave a slight formal nod, then quietly exited the room, pulling the door shut behind him. He walked back to his own suite, the numbers 307 now stark and clear, but his mind was no longer on market trends. It was on Eliza Reed, the crumpled tissues and the crayon drawing of the smiling sun. For the rest of the night, sleep evaded him. The image of Eliza's tear-streaked face haunted him. He was a problem solver by nature, a man who built empires by identifying challenges and finding elegant solutions. But this problem, this raw human suffering, felt utterly beyond his scope. He was used to dealing with problems that could be quantified, analyzed, and ultimately bought or sold. Eliza's pain couldn't be. The next morning, despite his resolve to forget the incident, Leo found himself restless. He ordered breakfast to his room, but the gourmet pastries and exotic fruits tasted like ash. He tried to dive into a business report, but his eyes kept glazing over, seeing not figures but those green, tear-filled eyes. He couldn't shake the feeling that he'd walked in on something profoundly important, something that demanded his attention. He knew he shouldn't interfere. It was her life, her privacy. But what if there was something he could do, not with money as charity, but as a genuine solution? He remembered the medical papers. That implied a specific kind of problem, a solvable one perhaps with the right resources. And resources were something Leo had in abundance. Against his better judgment, he found himself walking back down the corridor, stopping outside room 302. He hesitated for a long moment, his hand hovering over the door. Was this creepy? Was he crossing a line? Probably. But the need to understand, to somehow alleviate the discomfort he felt, was stronger than his usual adherence to social norms. He knocked gently, no answer. He knocked again, a little louder. Still nothing. He sighed, a mix of relief and disappointment washing over him. Perhaps she'd checked out or gone out for the day. He should just forget about it. He turned to leave, but then he noticed a small, folded note tucked under the door of 302. It was addressed to Thales Guest Services.t. His curiosity, a dangerous trait that had both made and almost broken him, got the better of him. He picked it up. It wasn't sealed. It was a request to extend her stay for another night, mentioning a hate medical emergency with her daughter, and asking if there was any possibility of a discount given the circumstances. She added that she could pay in cash by noon if an extension was granted. His heart sank. She wasn't asking for charity. She was trying to keep a roof over her head while her daughter was ill. At a resort like this, even a single night was exorbitant. He crumpled the note in his hand. This wasn't just a moment of private sadness. This was a crisis. He walked straight to the reception desk. "I need to know about the guest in room 302, he said to the young woman behind the counter, his voice firm, leaving no room for argument. She looked flustered. "Sir, I'm afraid guest information is confidential." Leo leaned forward slightly, his eyes cold and unwavering. "This isn't a casual inquiry. There's a child involved. A medical emergency. If you can't help me, I'll speak to your manager, and then I'll speak to the resort owner. And trust me, you do not want to be in the middle of that conversation." He didn't have to threaten. His reputation preceded him. His name alone could open doors, and his resolve could move mountains. The receptionist paled. "Oh, sir, please, just a moment. I'll see what I can find." She tapped quickly on her keyboard, her fingers flying. "Her name is Eliza Reed. She's due to check out this morning. She did send a request for an extension, but—" She trailed off, looking uncomfortable. "But what?" Leo pressed. "The room is booked for another VIP guest starting this afternoon. We don't have any other standard rooms available. We offered a suite, but it's triple the price, and she declined, saying she couldn't afford it." Leo felt a surge of indignation. "So you're telling me a woman with a sick child is about to be kicked out onto the street because of a booking conflict?" No, sir, not kicked out. We would assist with finding another hotel, of course. But the resort is quite full." He slammed his hand lightly on the counter, making the receptionist jump. "Unacceptable. What about my suite? Is it available tonight?" As she blinked at him, confused. "Your suite, sir? Penthouse 307. Yes, it is. You're booked for another 3 nights. I want her in my suite," Leo declared. "And I'll take room 302, touch." The receptionist's jaw dropped. "Sir, with all due respect, that's a significant downgrade." "The penthouse is— I know what the penthouse is," Leo interrupted. "And I know what room 302 is. Just make the arrangements. Upgrade her, no charge. And don't tell her it's me. Tell her it's a resort-sponsored upgrade due to the booking conflict and her unfortunate circumstances. Make it sound official." He felt a strange satisfaction as he walked away, a sense of purpose he hadn't felt in days. It wasn't a solution to her deeper problems, but it was a roof, comfort, and peace of mind for at least one night. He spent the morning in the modest confines of room 302, a stark contrast to his usual lavish surroundings. He felt strangely grounded. The room, which seemed drab and ordinary yesterday, now felt real. He saw the faint scuff marks on the wall, the worn edges of the armchair. He even noticed the tiny, almost invisible stain on the carpet near where Eliza had been sitting. These weren't flaws. They were remnants of lives lived, stories told. He finally managed to get some work done, the change of scenery somehow sharpening his focus. Later that afternoon, he saw Eliza in the lobby. She looked different, less guarded, though still weary. She was talking to the same receptionist, a small, hopeful smile on her face. He watched from a distance as the receptionist handed her a new key card, pointing her towards the elevators that led to the penthouse level. He saw Eliza's eyes widen, her mouth forming a silent ooh-wow-ba. He felt a warmth spread through him, a small victory. He waited until she was gone, then approached the receptionist again. "Everything arranged?" "Oh, yes, sir." She was incredibly grateful. She said she couldn't believe it. Thanked the resort profusely. The receptionist looked at him with newfound respect. "That was very kind of you, sir." "I'm just doing what's right," Leo mumbled, a little embarrassed. He wasn't used to praise for acts of altruism. He was used to praise for acquisitions and profit margins. Over the next few days, Leo, still residing in room 302, found himself constantly thinking about Eliza. He saw her occasionally in the resort, always with a bright-eyed little girl who he assumed was her daughter. The little girl, with a shock of bright red hair and a perpetual smile, clearly adored her mother. Eliza, too, seemed to have bloomed slightly in the penthouse. She still looked tired, but the desperate edge was gone. There was a lightness in her step, a relaxed set to her shoulders. He noticed her laughing with her daughter by the pool, a genuine, unburdened sound that carried across the water. He kept his distance, knowing his presence might make her uncomfortable. But he couldn't help but be drawn to her, to the quiet strength and resilience he sensed in her. He found himself lingering in the lobby, subtly watching her, catching snippets of conversation. He learned the little girl's name was Lily, and that she had a rare heart condition. They were at the resort for a medical conference related to Lily's condition, hoping to meet with a specialist. The financial burden was immense, Eliza had mentioned, to a friendly bellhop, whom Leo had subtly encouraged to share information. He felt a growing urge to truly help, not just with a temporary upgrade, but with something lasting. He could pay for Lily's treatment, fly in the best specialists from around the world. It would be a drop in the ocean for him, but he knew she wouldn't accept charity. He had to find a way to offer help that preserved her dignity, that felt earned, not given. He started by doing research. He pulled strings, made calls, leveraging his vast network. He found out about a new experimental treatment for Lily's condition, available only at a cutting-edge clinic in Switzerland. He also discovered that Eliza, before Lily's illness, had been a brilliant architect with a portfolio of stunning, innovative designs, but had put her career on hold to care for her daughter. This gave him an idea. He arranged a chance encounter. One evening, as Eliza and Lily were leaving the resort's casual family restaurant, Leo positioned himself by the exit, pretending to check his phone. "Eliza, is that you?" he said, feigning surprise. She turned, her green eyes widening slightly when she recognized him. "Oh, it's you, Mr. I'm so sorry, I don't remember your name." "Leo Maxwell were," he supplied, extending a hand. "And this must be Lily." He knelt down slightly, smiling warmly at the little girl who peered up at him with curious eyes. "Hi," Lily said, her voice bright. "Hi, Lily Mudd," Leo said. "I love your drawing." He pointed to the small, colorful picture she still carried, rolled up in her hand. Eliza looked flustered. "Yes, she loves to draw. And I wanted to thank you, Mr. Maxwell, for your concern the other night, and for understanding. It's been a tough time. Please call me Leo," Adi said, standing up. "And I meant what I said. Is everything all right now? The room, the conference?" "Oh, the room is incredible," she gushed, her face lighting up. "I can't believe the resort just gave us the penthouse. Lily thinks she's a princess. It's been such a blessing. And the conference has been good. We met with Dr. Schmidt, one of the top specialists. He thinks there are options, but they're complicated." Her smile faded slightly. "Complicated how?" Leo asked, keeping his tone casual, genuinely interested. She hesitated, then decided to trust him. "Financially, mostly. And logistically. The treatment he recommends is in Switzerland, and it's experimental, not covered by insurance, and it would mean being there for months. I don't know how I'd manage it." "In Switzerland, you say?" Leo mused. "So interesting. I actually have some business interests in Switzerland. Biotech, I know some of the clinics there. Maybe I could help you explore the options." He paused, then added, "Perhaps not financially if you're worried about that. More like connections. I have a lot of contacts in the medical research world. I could open doors for you, get you in front of the right people, cut through the red tape." It was a slight manipulation of the truth, but his intent was pure. He wouldn't offer money directly. He would offer his resources, his influence. Eliza looked at him, her brow furrowed. "Why would you do that?" He met her gaze. "Let's just say, after seeing what I saw the other night, it struck a chord. I'm a problem solver, Eliza, And this seems like a problem I might have unique resources to help with. And besides, he added with a slight smile, I have a soft spot for aspiring artists. Lily's drawing is quite good. He winked at Lily, who giggled. Eliza still looked wary, but a flicker of hope shone in her eyes. Oops, I don't know what to say. And then just say you'll consider it, Leo said. Let me make some inquiries. If nothing comes of it, no harm done. If it opens a path for Lily, then great. He handed her his business card. It was sleek, minimalist, with just his name and a private number. Call me. No pressure. Oh, she took the card, her fingers brushing his. He felt a jolt, a small electric current that surprised him. Thank you, Leo. I really appreciate it. Over the next few days, Leo and Eliza started spending more time together, not as dates, but as collaborators in a shared mission, Lily's health. He truly did leverage his network, contacting medical experts, research institutions, even the Swiss embassy to smooth over potential visa issues. He never offered money outright, but he ensured that every logistical hurdle was cleared, every potential cost barrier was identified, and then discreetly, covered by an anonymous donor fund, he secretly set up. He found himself captivated by Eliza. She was fiercely intelligent, resilient, and possessed a quiet strength that belied her delicate frame. She spoke passionately about Lily, about her dreams for her daughter, and about her own past as an architect. He learned about the projects she'd put on hold, the innovative ideas she still harbored, locked away by circumstance. He realized she wasn't just a mother in distress. She was a brilliant, untapped talent. Their conversations weren't about business or socialite gossip, the usual fodder of his world. They were about hope, fear, love, and the practicalities of fighting for a child's life. He found himself opening up to her in ways he hadn't to anyone else in years. He talked about the loneliness of his success, the pressure, the constant feeling of being judged for his wealth rather than his character. She listened, truly listened, offering empathy and understanding, not advice or flattery. One evening they sat by the ocean, Lily asleep in her stroller beside them. The waves crashed softly against the shore, mirroring the gentle rhythm of their conversation. For you know, Eliza said, breaking a comfortable silence, I still don't understand why you're doing all this, Leo. You don't owe us anything. He looked out at the vast expanse of the sea. Maybe I owe myself something, Eliza. I've spent my entire life building an empire, chasing numbers, accumulating wealth. And for what? So I can stay in a penthouse and feel completely empty. He turned to her, his gaze intense. That night I walked into your room, I saw something real, raw. You were in pain, but you were fighting. You were fighting for your daughter. It made my own life, my own perceived problems seem incredibly trivial. He reached out, taking her hand. Her skin was soft, warm. You showed me what truly matters, Eliza. You showed me a purpose beyond profit. Helping Lily. So it feels more meaningful than any deal I've ever closed. She squeezed his hand, her green eyes shimmering in the moonlight. Ah, you're a good man, Leo Maxwell. I misjudged you, Futsu and Ukraine, he admitted. I thought you were just another person in need, someone to be fixed with money. I didn't see the strength, the brilliance, the heart. I didn't see Ute. The trip to Switzerland was arranged. Leo had secured a private jet, on a friend's plane, what he'd said casually, to ensure Lily's comfort and safety. He insisted on accompanying them, not as the anonymous benefactor, but as a genuine friend and supporter. Eliza, initially hesitant, eventually agreed. She saw his sincerity, felt the genuine warmth beneath his sophisticated exterior. The climax arrived in Switzerland. After weeks of consultations, tests, and waiting, the doctors finally had a clear path forward for Lily. The experimental treatment offered a high chance of success, but it was long, arduous, and emotionally draining. One afternoon, after a particularly tough day of treatments, Lily was resting. Eliza and Leo were in the hospital waiting room, the tension palpable. Eliza looked utterly exhausted, her strength wavering. I don't know if I can do this, Leo, she whispered, her voice cracking. Go, it's too much. The uncertainty, the endless days, the fear. Leo moved closer, putting an arm around her shoulder. Eukana, he said firmly, his voice gentle but unwavering. You're the strongest woman I know. And you're not alone. I'm here, for both of you. She leaned into his embrace, her head resting on his shoulder. "Thank you," she murmured, a single tear tracing a path down her cheek. "Thank you for everything. For seeing us, for helping us, for just being here." He held her tighter. "Eliza," he said, his voice low, "there's something else. I've been thinking, and it's not charity, I promise. It's an opportunity for you. My company. We're developing a new line of sustainable, community-focused developments. We need a lead architect with vision, someone who truly understands how to build not just structures, but homes, communities. Your portfolio, your ideas. They're exactly what we need." She pulled back, looking at him, startled. "And they through my portfolio? How do you know about that?" He gave a sheepish smile. "I did a little digging. A lot of digging, actually. You're incredibly talented, Eliza. This isn't a handout. This is a job. A challenging, fulfilling job that would allow you to make a real impact and provide for Lily's future no matter what." Her eyes filled with tears again, but these were different. These were tears of hope, of gratitude. "Leo," she choked out, I don't know what to say." "Say yes," he urged, looking deep into her eyes. "Say yes to a future where you don't have to choose between your daughter's health and your own dreams. Say yes to building something beautiful together." And in that moment, as the afternoon sun streamed through the hospital window, painting them in a soft, golden light, Eliza saw not just a lifeline, but a partnership. She saw a man who had not only saved her daughter, but had also seen and nurtured her own dormant potential. She saw a future not just for Lily, but for herself, hand in hand with a man who had walked into the wrong room and changed everything. Lily's treatment was long and challenging, but successful. Leo was by their side every step of the way, a constant source of support, strength, and quiet affection. Eliza accepted his job offer, throwing herself into the work with a passion she thought she'd lost. She proved to be everything he expected and more. Her designs innovative, her dedication boundless. Their professional collaboration quickly blossomed into something deeper, something beautiful and unexpected. Leo Maxwell, the man who owned islands and built empires, found his true home not in a penthouse, but in a modest hospital room, with a strong woman and her brave little girl. He learned that the greatest wealth wasn't measured in dollars, but in the genuine connections forged, the lives touched, and the quiet moments of shared vulnerability. He learned that sometimes the biggest miracles happen when you take a wrong turn, open the wrong door, and allow yourself to see the raw, beautiful truth hidden within. He found his purpose not by acquiring more, but by giving back. By building a future not just for himself, but for the people who had shown him the true meaning of richness. Subscribe for more stories like this.